Yo, what is up, travelers? Sagan Survives here, and this is my build submission for the Builds of Power Runemaster build competition going on right now. I am doing a Fire Ignite Runemaster. I'm level 93 right now, and this is not a hardcore build. This is actually my softcore Runemaster, so don't worry about it being like hardcore specific or anything or whatnot. But anyway, the build is going to be utilizing Aergon's Plasma Arc. I think this is a really cool invocation because it applies 7 stacks of Ignite and it has free increased duration and free fire penetration. So that's really, really cool. I just think it's a really cool invocation. And the other thing about the build that is really cool is because it has 70% fire pen, we also get another 30 from the boots here. These boots are not really used that often, and I just wanted to use them for this build because the fact of the fire penetration for free, increased fire damage, and then obviously it's kind of cool to have a fire trail cast behind you as you're mapping. So I just think it's kind of a fun item that isn't really utilized a lot because it's kind of weird. And then so obviously you want to make sure that you do get a 20% reduced damage taken from critical strikes anywhere you can else on your gear setup, so that way you take no damage from critical strikes, and then you'll just be mapping, and it does do damage, but not a lot of damage, and it's mainly there just for the fire penetration and the fact that having a fire trail behind you is really, really cool. The other thing about this build is we're using fundamental Criterion. Because our invocation is firstly the first rune is gone, we're using a staff to get 31% more damage while using a staff, and then also the second rune is gone, so we're using through dexterity to scale the damage of the runic invocation, which because the invocation is an ignite invocation, it actually scales the ignite damage as well. So 3% more damage per point of dexterity. So this build is built around getting as much dexterity as possible, and I have 47 right now. So with the staff, we're doing quite a lot more damage, so that's really fantastic. And then I am using Jungle Queen's Chaps of Holding just for the fact that it is 12 potion slots and it's got 9 dexterity. Everything else on it is totally bad for this build, but I just think it's very funny to be running around with 12 potion slots and then just having the increased dexterity. It's giving this build a lot of more damage, so that's really cool. And then obviously this base is really bad, but again, just more dexterity. Everywhere you can get it is really important, and you can even get upwards of like 50 plus dexterity if you try really hard. So that's really cool. And then I highly recommend getting like an Oracle amulet for your neck here. I wasn't able to do it, but the gear outside of that doesn't really matter. Just, you know, damage over time, ignite chance. But the Oracle is really cool because armor mitigation applying to damage over time. Adding that with an Oracle would just make it so we have a good significant amount of less damage over time taken. But anyway, the build that I'm utilizing, I do have a tier 6 armor mitigation applies to damage over time, so that's really, really cool to have, and I highly recommend. That's like one of the better experimental fixes out there that I think you can get. So anyway, I'll have a link to the gear, you can check that out. But basically the build just revolves around Aergon's Plasma Arc. And then we are utilizing Stride to Safety as well. Stride to Safety is really cool because it gives us more damage with our invocation, but it also has this weird movement tag to it. So we're going to be jumping forward, and that's going to be really helpful to this build. And then also we do get access to Interlude, which gives us access to a second invocation every time we cast this. The other important thing is you want to get every single point of more damage because that's going to scale our ignite damage. I did get Elemental Starfield for a few reasons, and then also Copied Scrolls is going to help us double cast our invocation, which means on a single target, every single time it double casts, we're going to get like instantly like 30 plus stacks of ignite just from one cast of invocation. So that's really strong just in general to have that, so you want 4 points there. And it's like I said, we do have Elemental Nova going on. I highly recommend getting at least like a +2 or +3 to the helmet to give you enough points to make everything work in here. But the reason why we're getting Elemental Nova is because it casts with our Runic Invocation, direct cast, but also because in Runebolt, this is our mana generator, it does generate ward as well, but Runeweave is going to actually scale our damage because every stack of elemental shred is going to make us do more elemental damage to that target, up to a maximum. But with Runebolt having free armor shred, we don't need to have any armor shred in our build because our spells are doing all the armor shred for us. So that's really, really cool. And so in order to get that, you know, and the fact that we need arcane projection for this so that the the Nova cast at the target, and then we also want to get as much ignite chance as we have, or it can get rather. We want to get more area. We want to get this node for sure, and then we also want to get +1 charge just in case our cooldown isn't up. We're always casting a fire Nova. That's why I say get the +2 elemental Nova. You only need +3 here, so it's worth it to get a +2 or +3 for the elemental Nova, so you can have access to these things here. And then obviously like more area is really cool too. Standard flame wall, or excuse me, flame ward, flame wall setup. Flame wall is giving us increased damage through Esperance Arrival here, so this is really important. And then obviously you want to get Howling Rift too, because we're going to be casting Frost Wall, Flame Wall, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be casting it quite a lot because we're going to be walking through it. We're going to be jumping through it, rather, I should say. So this build kind of works like this. You have, you're just spamming Rune Bolt, and then as soon as you want to cast your Invocation to do big damage, you jump through your flame wall and cast Invocation, and it applies 2 invocations. The first one is Sea of Sparks, which is auto-targeting everything around us and doing lightning damage and shocking things, and it actually does a good amount of clear, and that's also, our intelligence helps scale this damage, so that's why intelligence isn't too bad for this build either. And then also the second invocation that we're using also auto-targets, so both of our invocation are auto-targeting, which is awesome, and then it's being cast both at once alongside of our elemental Nova being cast, and it will cast on the target location. So if I have my cursor way up here, the elemental Nova will cast way up there. So those are some of the key functions of this build, and you just want to keep on just casting Flame Wall and then jumping through it in order to cast. I didn't cast the right one there, but you kind of get the idea. For the passives, you just want to go and get, for leveling, I did fire resistances, lightning resistance, intelligence, but you can get scholar if you'd like, because you don't need intelligence per se, but you want to get the arcane flames, and then I like to get the warden for the increased retention. In sorcerer, you just want more cast speed and movement speed at max stacks. That's really strong and good. And then in this tree, we want to get 5 points in unsealed mana, 8 points in arcane focus, 8 points here, 10 points there. Basically just an ignite skill tree for Runemaster. You want to get as many points into freezing point as possible to increase your damage. More mana regen with a Gone rune, really good. Area per ward whenever we cast an area skill, which we're doing with Frost Wall quite a lot, so that's really good too. This was just going to help our damage and apply Brand of Deception every time we cast our Runic Invocation, because it is a lightning one that costs more than 15 mana, so we're getting Brand of Deception for free. And then every single stack of shock is increasing our Brand of Deception, so that's why Sea of Sparks and having shock chance is really valuable to us, as well as Rune Word Inferno. Every stack of shock is going to increase the armor that we get. It doesn't show up in my character sheet, which is kind of odd, but I do believe that it's applying, it's calculating in the background. You can remove these 8 points here, or you can keep them depending on if you want the cooldown recovery or not. I'm going to actually unspec and go into freezing point myself just to get a little bit more overtime damage, but that's basically the gist of the passives. Let's just choose a nice easy one here and get onto it. I'm actually going to go closer down here and do, I guess this works. We're going to do a boss fight as well here, so we can kind of see the boss fight and see how that goes. But yeah, so like I said, you want to have your runes kind of ready. You're going to be casting Rune Bolt a lot, so it's easy to have Gone up. It's going to help with your mana regen and whatnot. Then you cast Flame Wall, or Frost Wall, excuse me, and as soon as you do that, you press Runic Invocation. So it's a really nice kind of satisfactory combo like that, because you know exactly when you want to cast your Runic Invocation based on the fact that you just casted Firewall. So it makes it directly casting it really easy. And that's basically the loop, is when you're out of mana, you cast Rune Bolt, and then when you are killing packs, you want to do big damage. You want to just get your invocation lined up as quickly as possible. What do we got here? Nothing too good, nothing too crazy. So that's basically the loop there, and you can go as fast or as slow as you want in terms of killing mobs. This build is really cool for the fact that you can just run through your Frost Wall if you want, pretty much all the time. Casting Runic Invocation as it's available, and finding our target here. You might sometimes not cast the right invocation, which is totally fine, but obviously like your damage will suffer just a little bit if you don't have the 3 Gone runes lined up, or at least 2, and then pressing Flame Wall, and then pressing your Invocation right after that. So we are double casting. Oh, let's go get this mage thingy to show this single target fight here. So I always make sure that I have my Gone runes up, and then as soon as he spawns, place down the firewall, and then you just straight up just cast an Invocation until he is no more. So not terrible single target damage, but not like, you know, anything incredible per se. But the AOE is really good, and then I just think it's really kind of a fun playstyle. Damage over time. See, that's why we have that damage over time node, is because damage over time is just about the only thing that is really dangerous, I think. And damage over time, like the Oracle necklace. I wanted to get an Oracle necklace, but those ones are a little rare to drop. But yeah, damage over time in general is just really strong, so watch out for that, of course. And what do we get here? Nothing too crazy. That thing's actually really bugged right now. Let's just go right into the boss fight here. It has increased health, but that's not a big deal. It also has plus resistances, but that doesn't matter either because we have so much penetration. That kind of hurt, dude. What the heck? So with these guys, you kind of want to kill them around the same time. Like, you don't really want to do too much damage on one of them. So we're just going to kind of stay near them, casting our Frost Wall near them as much as possible. And the Aergon's Plasma Arc is just basically auto-casting on them. It doesn't even really matter where we aim too much, which is really neat. And then you just rune bolt around, press the flame, and then, you know, jump through it. It's really important that you, as soon as you cast Flame Wall, you do try to jump through it. Since we do have that mobility on cast, it's kind of cool to couple, you know, the fact that you need to walk through it in order to get your benefit from the skill tree, but also we have to cast Runic Invocation, so why not do both, you know? That's what I thought. But I just think it's a kind of a fun build. I didn't really have to, you know, worry too much about damage because we're just constantly getting so much ward, and then, you know, we can just... Ooh, that was a little close though. Damage over time again. I'm telling you, man, that stuff is dangerous. But that's why we have the T6 mod here for reduced damage over time taken, so that's really strong. But yeah, that's basically the build here, guys.